just snort this Xanax. Can't take care of the one son that I do have. I'm supposed to take care of two now. I'm like, I'm screwed. We don't like anyone who constantly lies to us, tells us they're gonna do something and then doesn't show up. Yet, we constantly do it to ourselves. You don't have to change everything at once, right? That's how most people fail.
Something I noticed about you is the early morning pictures of you looking really tired, but you're getting up anyway because it's the right thing to do to get started, to be the rock for your family. And dude, it's not easy. I'm also an early riser, and I don't think it ever gets easier. But it definitely shapes the day. It makes me the man. It prepares me to be the man who I need to be for the rest of the day. What time are you getting up in the morning?
For sure, between like 4 and 4:30, typically.
Tell me your morning routine.
Yeah, so when I first wake up, right, I drink about like 20 to 30 ounces of water with some like electrolyte mix that I have, like Santa Cruz Paleo. That's the one that I use. It's great. And then I go right for the coffee, man. I know they say wait like 60 to 90 minutes. I never really have a hard time crashing in the middle of the day. So I have my coffee already pre-made. After that, I do that picture really quick that you're referring to, right? But I leave my phone on airplane mode, right? I don't post it for about like 45 minutes to an hour later. I leave my phone on airplane mode all night, so I'm not reactive to whatever happened overnight. Emails, text messages, things like that. And then I don't know if you ever heard of like EFT tapping. So it's called like emotional freedom techniques. So we hold like
Is
trauma.
It this stuff?
Yeah, we hold trauma and like blockages in different parts of our body. So I do 2 to 3 minutes of the tapping, a little bit of journaling, some visualization. Then I get right into work for the day. That probably takes me about like 30 minutes total. And then, and just get right into work for the day, man. But that really does just set the tone for the day. On the weekends and everything, man. So.
That's awesome. Okay, so people listening will be like, okay, this guy's crazy, up at 4, tapping, drinking 20 ounces of water, taking pictures. Dude, so it doesn't start that way, does it? What was your life before that led you up to want to be this man that's taking charge of his life and not reacting?
Yeah, so I guess I would have to go back to like my childhood. Like I was raised by my father. He made a lot of money, like 7 figures a year when I was growing up. So we had a lot of things, but he also partied with like drugs, alcohol, women, like on a daily basis. And so I looked at him and I was like, that's how I want to be. I want to be like that. Right. But so that led me into addiction. I was an addict and an alcoholic for the better part of a decade. And then about 7 years ago, my life literally hit rock bottom. And I decided to make a change. And obviously I wasn't, doing this the whole time. I slowly but surely dialed in like certain parts of my life. Like first it was the gym, then it was my business, then it was more of like the inner game, right? My morning routine has been a staple, and I've been slowly but surely, as I've gotten busier, kind of pushed it a little earlier.
Amazing. Dude, your story is pretty common. A man who hits rock bottom and then makes some changes. And luckily you made the good change to look, to be positive, to look to God. But take us back to your story. I mean, specifically, dude, addiction's a huge problem with men and women, but this is a podcast for men. Addiction's a huge problem. What are your thought patterns? What is your outlook on life at that time? And then tell us about the rock bottom when you changed.
Man, so when leading up to like that rock bottom point, I thought God hated me. Like that was like my actual like belief, because just so many things were going wrong in my life. So in 2008, I graduated from Florida State University. I thought I was going to take over my father's multi-million-dollar business. And that's when the whole market crashed, like the housing market and everything. And we lost everything in the matter of like 6 to 12 months, went from like limos, yachts, penthouses to like not being able to pay the rent on our apartment. So that happened.
Dude, that's devastating.
Yeah, man, it was really hard for me because I was like a 21, 22-year-old kid. And my father had to close his business down. He had too much bad debt. I opened up a business in my name. So it's literally like me and him trying to like support I'm the oldest of 5 kids, trying to support all my little brothers and sisters, my mom. So it was like a lot of weight on me. And I remember one day I was like super stressed for everything.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, well, just snort this Xanax, And I'm like, wow, that made me feel awesome. Like just removed all of my anxieties like that. Right. And so I ended up getting a script for that. Then I got into oxys, and then everything just kind of fell apart from there. And I remember like the turning point for me, I already had one son. I just got a call. My second son was on the way during a week-long bender, like with my dad of all people. And at this point, I was fired from my job. I just had my car repossessed. I was about to be kicked out of like a second apartment. I was already kicked out of one, and I had another son on the way. So like at this point, I was like, my life is over. I'm done. And I remember falling on my knees and screaming out to God. I was like, why me? Like, why? Why am I going through all of this? And I looked at all my friends, and they were living these amazing lives and vacations and raising good families. And up until that point, I blamed everything on my dad, on the economy, on God, right? And it was almost like it hit me like in an instant. It wasn't like it was the craziest spiritual experience I've ever had. And in that instant, I realized it was all my fault, like all of it, right? And maybe my circumstances weren't ideal. Maybe I got some bad breaks, but the position that I was in at that moment, that was 100% my fault, right? It was almost like God waking me up to why I was there. And at that moment, like that pain, realizing, because it's easy to like blame other people and like not really understand the consequences of your actions. But when I realized where I put myself, where I put my family, all of the pain and heartache I put them through, it hurt so bad. I didn't think I could ever build my life back up. I'm like, I'm the biggest piece of crap. And I actually attempted to take my life. I was slitting my wrists. I got sent to a mental health hospital, Baker acted in Florida for 72 hours. So I was there for like 3 or 4 days. And then when I was there, I also had another vision that my kids were going to turn out to be like me. And so at that point, I really didn't care what happened to me. But like seeing that when I was in there was enough to make me want to change when I got out. And also, I think taking the accountability, I always viewed the drugs and alcohol as like an escape from all the pain that I was experiencing. But in that moment where I took accountability, like I reassociated the drugs to the pain, right? Like for so long, I associated it subconsciously and in my nervous system, I tied the drugs to the relief, to the escape. But in that moment, I like shifted it automatically, and I connected the drugs to the pain. So it was like 80% of the work done right there, to where I subconsciously related the drugs to something else rather than like the escape that I previously did.
Yeah, dude, that is a harrowing tale, man. That's rough. And so I want to go back. I love that you said the breakthrough was you realizing that it was all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be like a catalyst for change, right? When we stop becoming victims. I mean, it is in my life when I realized that my circumstances are due to my actions. And it's hard to accept that, but it's also so freeing, right? I mean, did you, at that point, when you realized it was your fault, you're still in hell, but how did you change? How did the outlook of your future change?
Yeah. So like in that moment, I felt just so much pain and heartache. And plus I was on like a week-long bender. So like I was just high off of like different substances at that time. And so I thought my life was over at that point. I'm like, I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of the one son that I do have. I'm supposed to take care of 2 now. I'm like, I'm screwed, right? So I didn't think there was going to be any out. That's why I think I attempted to kind of take my life. More of a cry for help, I think. I wasn't really going to do anything. But having the 3 to 4 days in that mental health facility allowed me to get clean a little bit and allow me to gain some clarity. And then at that point, I was like, all right, when I walked out of there, I was like, I never did a hard drug ever again. I was like, I'm done.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really like, you changed.
Yeah. That, cause like, again, I reassociate, because like 95% of everything we do is driven by our subconscious mind. We're just running a program, right? We think we're consciously doing things every day, but 95% of what we do, what we think, what we say, all comes from our subconscious mind. And at that point, my subconscious associated the drugs to the relief, to the escape. Now they associated it to pain, right? And the only way to create true change, like internally, is reassociating what our subconscious and what our central nervous system associates like pain or pleasure to, right? So if we think taking
how do you do that?
Like I happen to do it just by happenstance, right? I think it was a spiritual experience that I went through. But now, right, to where I want to do that, it's meditation, it's journaling, right? It's bringing your unconscious thoughts and beliefs to your conscious mind so you can become aware and reframe them. Like a lot of people, we're all ruled by our subconscious mind. It dictates our life, but so many people are unaware that that's even going on, right? So a lot of the guys that I work with, right, they're a lot of alpha type of males and stuff. And when I bring up like meditation and journaling, they're like, yeah, like, oh, I guess I'll give it a shot, right? But once they get into it, man, it's life changing, because you can't change the trajectory of your life if you don't heal like your wounds and your traumas from your past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it Seneca or Socrates? Someone said, the unobserved life is not worth living. And that relates to what you're saying, this subconscious that's running our lives. If we don't observe that, if we don't see what it's bringing out, with the fruit that it's bringing into our life, whether good or bad, observe it and then work on changing it. And I second that, dude. Meditation and journaling, although I'm not terribly consistent at it, when I do that, it reveals things about myself that I learn and that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's think about that. Let's work on that. So, dude, you're totally right, and I respect your commitment to those practices. So, what was your like religious bringing up? Like, were you, when you were in that lowest of low, why did you reach out to God? Did you have a relationship previous, or did you hope to have one? Like, what was your background?
Yeah, so like I was Catholic, so I'm Italian. So I was raised Catholic growing up. I went to Sunday school, stuff like that. As I got older, we kind of stopped going to church and Sunday school and stuff like that. I always believed in God, but I probably wasn't too close to him. And at that point in my life, I didn't know like just what to do at that point. Like I really did think, I was like, man, like, because I literally grew up like we had like a 60-foot yacht. We would ride the limo to the yacht, had a first, like, I lived such a great life, I guess, at least materialistically. I did experience a lot of trauma. I didn't realize it was trauma till later in life. But I thought that I lived such like a good life that God was punishing me and showing me like, hey, like this is what it's like. But now like I have an answer to that question, right? Like the why me was to break me down so I could build myself back up. Because like the things that I've learned about life, about mindset, about fitness, about spirituality, you can't learn them from a book. You can't learn them from a podcast. Like you actually have to go through them exactly. And that's what I teach, the men inside the Awakened Father, is that like of the same things that I learned building my life up from rock bottom over the last 6 or 7 years.
Beautiful. Yeah. What have you learned about God in these last 10, 6, 7 years, however long since that break point? How would you describe him to someone?
Yeah. So it's, if you pray for growth, right, he's going to give you tough obstacles and things and an opportunity to grow, right? You may not always get what you want, but you'll always get what you need. He will give you opportunities and you will keep on facing the same challenges, the same battles, the same adversities, right? Until you decide to think, respond, and act differently. So I truly believe that like God is within all of us. He's like an energy, he's a source, and we have the ability to tap into like our higher power. And that's why I think meditation is so important as well. I've had so many realizations where like problems or business things I didn't know how to deal with, and I would just be meditating, and then like I call them downloads, and I would just get the answer, right? And I don't know how else to explain that, but from God, from higher power, from the source.
Beautiful. Love it, man. I totally agree. How would you, in a short way, teach someone what meditation is and how to do it? Like if someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, I've heard about meditation 100 times, but they don't know the next step because it's not easily fed to them. How would you easily feed that to them?
So I would say like find just like a 5-minute guided meditation at first, right? Like start with
like where would you find that?
Spotify, YouTube. I would just Google like guided relaxing meditation, right? And there's a bunch of different ones out there. Find a voice or something that resonates with you. There's no right or wrong way to meditate, right? There's not, and it's called a meditation practice. The reason why most people don't stick with it, they're like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, no one can do it when they first try, right? It's like when the first time you tried baseball or basketball or a different sport, you don't really know what you're doing as a kid, and you have to practice, and then eventually you get better at it. Just with any new skill or anything, same thing with meditation. Just try to connect with your breath as much as you can, and any thoughts that you have, just observe those thoughts, right? We are not our mind. We are not our body. We are not our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are simply a byproduct from our experiences. So we can observe our thoughts and be like, that's interesting, right? Rather than judging ourselves based on those thoughts. So that's what I think meditation is to me. It's not thinking, right? It's not thinking at all. It's
right.
Observing what thoughts you have, not judging them or yourself, and then letting them pass.
Dude, I think you've explained it really, really well. I was shocked by how active my mind was when I first started meditating. It's almost comical, the thoughts and how quickly you get lost. I mean, it's absurd. And that goes back to your point that our subconscious is running our life script, like it's running our life. And so our subconscious just can get really wild and run free. But like you said, meditation helps us observe that. And you don't want to judge it, you just watch it, and then you can make better decisions, observing what your thoughts, we aren't our thoughts. Our brain is there to protect us. A lot of times it's wrong. And you're absolutely right. I think that's really good guidance. So just Googling or Spotifying some meditation, and I've done that. And there's so many good meditations out there. You don't need to wonder if they're good or not. The whole point is to be still, to get in your breath, and to be present and observe. And I think that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're pushing that. So tell me about Awakened Father, how it started, and your vision for it.
Yeah, so honestly, for a couple of years I was coaching. People would reach out to me, ask me for help and guidance because they saw how, I changed my life around. But I never really had like a direction, a niche market, or a target. And I was searching for one so bad, I just didn't know what to do. That was actually one of the downloads that I've had while I was meditating, right? And I was asking myself this question for so many months, and then all of a sudden in an instant, I just got the idea, like the Awakened Father. And I feel that one, like the reason why you started this podcast is a lot of men feel like they don't have a place to go for support, for accountability, to talk about their feelings, what's going on, right? So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to work with men and fathers specifically. Second is there are just like far too many just weak men. And I'm not just talking about like weak physically these days, weak mentally, weak spiritually, weak financially, stuck in victim mode, and I wanted to provide them some accountability and call them out and be able to let them know, because I used to be one of those weak men, right? So I understand where they're coming from and how they feel, and to help them, get sober, stop smoking, stop drinking, and get them on the right path physically, mentally, spiritually, and also to break generational curses and patterns, right? So it only takes one man to literally change the trajectory of his whole entire family's lineage, right? Because so many men raise their kids exact same way their father raised them, right? And it doesn't have to be as extreme in my situation. Like my dad bought me a prostitute when I was 13 years old after he got me drunk. It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be like intense things like that, but like having a temper, not treating your wife properly, coming home and just complaining about your boss and how unfair it is and this and that, and just passing them a negative, weak, terrible mindset and lifestyle habits. So I wanted to provide men the tools that they could use to improve their life, to then have the trickle down effect to affect their sons, their daughters, so they don't have to deal with the same issues that their father's dealing with now, right? Low self-esteem, low confidence, overweight, struggling financially.
That's incredible. Awakened Father sounds like so many men need that. Yeah, we are, in fact, I'd say that is probably why there are so many problems, because of weak men. Yeah, weak 100%. Men that don't have the courage to stand up, to be honest with themselves, to make choices that are uncomfortable but the right choices.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if we really do care about our families, ourselves, our lineage, our countries, or wherever you live, I mean, we need to be stronger. I really like that aspect of it. What are some of your favorite transformations of clients that you've had? Obviously, no names, but just give us some perspective of what you're working with.
Yeah, no. So I actually posted one today. I don't even mind to share some names. So one of my clients, Juan, he came to me. He just got a DUI. He was working at the bar, so he's working 4 or 5 nights a week, slinging drinks at the bar. Just got a DUI on the way home from work. Kind of hit rock bottom. Didn't know what to do, where to turn, right? I got him in shape. He, is rocking a 6-pack now, feeling super confident in himself and his body. He started his own business, right? So now he's just, bartending Friday and Saturday night while he grows and scales his own business. He's working up to scaling out of that. And now his sons will wake up at like 6:30 in the morning before they have to go to school, and they'll be journaling. They'll be repping out push-ups. They'll be asking their dad to like go on runs and stuff like that. So it's not only like the transformations that my clients make, it's the change in their children as well, right? Because I always preach to them, behaviors are caught, they're not taught, right? So your kid will do what you do, not what you say. So many fathers are hypocrites these days and work hard, do this, focus at school, yet, they're not focused at work. They don't work hard on themselves. They come home every day, crack a beer, sit on the TV until it's time to go to bed, right? And then they expect their kids to live a life of ambition. It doesn't work that way.
Dude, what a cool story. That has been one of the best parts of me changing my life. I don't think you know much about me, but I went through some really hard times during COVID. Hit rock bottom. Got inspired to do this podcast, and my life has gotten dramatically better. Meeting men like you, working out, journaling, eating right, and dude, it has. Like I said, one of the best parts is my family and the effects that has happened.
Yeah,
they want to do. They're doing. Yeah, they're catching the habits. So we've all, because of the changes I've made, we've all leveled up our game, and that is, dude, it's like magic. It really is.
It really is.
And our words are so cheap.
Yeah, they are. They don't, they don't mean anything unless they're backed up with action. And I have guys in my DMs. I had one just like yesterday or the day before, right? And they're like, yeah, man, like I feel bad going to the gym because it's taking time away from my family. I'm like, bro, you got it reversed. I'm like, you're taking yourself away from your family because you're not the highest version of yourself. Like, I don't care how much time you spend with them. Like, if you only spent half the time with them, but you're more present, you're more focused, you're more aware of a father, then that time is way more valuable than being the you that you are now, right? So many men think it's taking away from their family. No, man, like you not being the best version of yourself, that's taking away from your family, right? It's an hour a day, right? That's all it takes. Like my clients work out 45 to 60 minutes a day max. That's it. That's all it takes 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah. Speaking of working out, what is the benefits in your opinion? And the reason why I ask this is obviously there's the physical stuff, but I'm learning so much about the mental aspects of working out. It's almost better for your, it's like, that's the most important. Yeah. I work out every morning at 5, and when, sometimes on the weekends I don't, but those days that I do, I just feel so much more clarity and purpose and like courage to go. It's more mental than just physical. How do you approach and teach mental fitness?
Yeah, so I train so often like for my mind, right? Like the muscles, like the physical benefits, they're secondary to what it does for me, like up here, right? It builds your confidence. It builds your self-esteem. It changes your belief systems and the way and the lens that you see the world. Like the world is not as it is. The world is as you are, right? So you start to see the world differently as you become different. Like building a good physique is one of the only things in 2024 that you can't buy, that you can't cheat your way through, right? Hard work, dedication, good diet, proper rest. If you don't do that, you're not going to grow. You're not going to have a good physique, but that's not easy to do. Now, through the consistency and discipline of building your physique, it transfers to every other aspect of your life, your business or career, your relationships, your personal life, right? So when let's say like this past weekend, it was usually I work out like 6 days a week, but this weekend I took Saturday and Sunday off. I got back in there Monday. I'm like, man, this felt like forever, right? Just because like that's my escape. That's where I get my clarity. Also, it increases your neuroplasticity by about 35%. So meaning when you're trying to change your subconscious belief systems, you heard that phrase like neurons that, fire together, wire together, right? Basically, we have these neural pathways in our brain, right, that create habits, rituals, routines. And through physical exercise, you can actually increase your brain's ability to make new neurological connections, right? So if you're trying to make changes in other areas of your life, that's super beneficial. And lastly, it's impossible to like be depressed or sad or fearful when you're pushing yourself to your physical max, right? Not just going through the motions, not just like kind of being there and stopping when it hurts. Like if you're really pushing yourself to where you're drenched and where you're tired and you're about to like just give up or puke, it's impossible to feel depressed or anxious or fearful in that state. So that's what it's different. It changed my whole entire life. Like 7 years ago, I was always an athlete. I knew I had to like start somewhere. And I almost just instinctively started with the gym. And once you break through a few physical self-limiting beliefs, it almost gives you permission to challenge other limiting beliefs that you have like elsewhere in your life. So I know that was like a long-winded answer, man, but like it does so much more for me than just the physical. And I think that's why some people lack the consistency, because they think, oh, it's just for the vanity, right? Like, nah, man, like it changes up here way more than it changes this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Dude, tell me about diet. Why is it so important?
Yeah, so dude, just today, don't even get me started on like the crap that is just like in our food, right? Like everything is, if it's not a whole food, it's poisonous essentially, right? And so many people today, they're just eating processed foods for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. It's terrible, right? So it's not only the macros. So like I track my macros every single day, like proteins, carbs, fats. That's what I teach my clients to do as well. But so many like bodybuilding guys will be like, oh, like look at the macros on this protein donut that has 64 ingredients in it, half of what you can't pronounce, right? I don't care. I'm still not eating that unless I'm like in a super bind, right? So it's all about whole foods. So I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of fruit. I eat a lot of chicken, beef, sweet potato, rice, salmon, some cod every now and then. And that's pretty much it, right? But you can make those couple of things into so many different meals, right?
Yeah, you absolutely can. I want to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
So in the past, when I hear people talk about food and stuff, I'd be like, oh, I just turn off because I think it's like nonsense. Because I'd have to change my life, and that's the truth of it. It'd be hard to do. Mm-hmm. But the proof is in the pudding, dude. No pun intended. But looking at you and looking at these people, like these men and women who do eat healthy and do work out, their lives and their bodies are in such a way that they're able to serve more, serve people, serve others. They're able to enjoy more. They have more freedom because they're not sick. Mm-hmm. And it really is like, people listening, I don't want you to turn off your mind and think like this is unattainable and this is some like crazy goal to eat healthy and work out. But this really does level up your life and enjoyment. I can confidently say in the last year, since changing my diet and working out, I've enjoyed life more. It's been more full. My body's never felt better. I'm 40, I'm almost 42, and I feel better than I ever have. And so the things that you're talking about, dude, I really second that. And I'm not perfect with my diet by any means, but I have dramatically changed how I eat, and it has made a huge difference. And then my family eats more healthy, which is another beneficial thing because I want to be with them a long time. Exactly. And so, yeah, these are all attainable things, and you don't have to change everything overnight. But learning and appreciating, and once again, getting out of that subconscious that's ruling our life, those thoughts that are telling us that, oh, that's stupid, don't listen to that. Let's rationalize. It's too hard to do these things. Observe those, and what are they really doing for you? Are they helping you? Or are they holding you back to your higher self?
And it's like, it's not even eating like healthy. It's just like what we've been brainwashed to think is normal as a society. Like, it's just eating whole foods. That's it. Like, just eating something that's not made in a factory, right? And and you said something that's super important right there is like, you don't have to change everything at once, right? That's how most people fail, right? They're like, okay, I'm cutting it all out. Like, that's it. Like, completely new me, right? And then what happens? Maybe they may do it for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. Then they fall back into their old habits and old patterns. And then what is their internal self-talk like then? See, I told you, I knew you couldn't do it. Like, why'd you even try? You're a loser, right? That's what the self-talk is. But when you're like, okay, I'm going to cut out like the bagels in the morning and switch it with eggs. That's going to be my first change, right? You do that for a couple of weeks. Okay, that was good. Then you change your lunch. Okay, I'm not going to eat fast food for lunch anymore. I'm going to start meal prepping and bring something to work. You make those changes, right? And then once you eat clean for long enough and you do go back, let's say, and you're like, oh, I feel terrible. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh my gosh, like I had a cheat meal of Five Guys like a couple of weeks ago, and I woke up and my whole face was just like swollen just because I was eating so good for so many weeks. I'm on a cut. And when I had that, I just woke up and just like under my eyes were swollen, my cheeks were swollen and everything. And it's like people are waking up feeling like that every day, and they don't even realize they feel like crap. So like, if you could live your life from here to here, most people are operating down here, but they don't even realize how much better they could feel on a daily basis by just making a few simple shifts in their diet.
Dude, amen. So my dad brought over some like these toffee covered peanuts, you know what I'm talking about, with the crunchy shell. And they're like, he put them in my studio. And it's this whole bowl, and I ate them in like 2 days. Dude, I felt drugged. It was, I couldn't believe the effect that had on my body, which was like one of those low moments where I'm like, it reassured me that, I've got to like be clean because I feel so much better when I'm eating correctly. But yeah, it's funny. I had one of those experiences. I haven't had anything like that in a while to remind me that eating like crap really does affect your body, and you don't even realize how bad you feel until you start eating well.
Yeah, so many people are operating at such a low level of clarity, energy, focus. And then they're like, I don't know why I'm so tired all the time. Like, just look at your lifestyle, look at your habits.
Yeah. When you feel like crap, you make bad decisions.
Yeah.
You then go on to, you're not motivated to do to do the better thing. I mean, I was like, I just want to go watch TV and go to bed. Or like, it's, your decision making is based upon how you feel. If you feel good, your decisions will be better. And so 100%. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, of preparing you to be clean, to make better decisions.
100%. And that's why my morning routine is so crucial, right? Because I'm not naturally just a positive person. I'm not. And some people may be surprised, like, when they hear that, right? But sometimes I wake up, I'm just like, I don't want today to happen. I just want to, go back to bed. I don't want to deal with all those things. But once I go through my morning routine, I put myself in that like state of gratitude. And then I am able to just see the world through a different lens and make better decisions. So it's like,
awesome.
Yeah. If you've always had like a problem, right? Sometimes when you have an issue or a problem and you just like snap immediately, right? Because you're vibrating at a low vibrational frequency. But if you can learn how to keep yourself up here, you just can make so much better decisions on a daily basis.
Amazing. Well, dude, I love what you shared today. If you listening out there, if you're feeling the call to elevate your life, please hit up Jimmy at The Awakened Father on Instagram. I'd love to give you the final word on anything else that I should have asked you that I didn't, anything that's important to you that you'd want to share.
Yeah, I guess maybe the last point, right, that as I was talking, I kind of thought about this, right? A lot of the guys that I work with, like, they struggle. They're like, oh, I lash out at my kids. I lash out at my wife. Like, they can be so annoying or emotionally up and down, right? As the man, it's our job to like be the rock of our family, right? And I'm not saying you can't have bad days or things like that, but most of the time when we lose our patience with our kids, with our wife, or just with anything that's going on in our life, is because you're actually upset at yourself. You're mad internally at yourself because you told yourself you were going to wake up and start working out and you didn't. You told yourself you were going to start eating better and you didn't. You told yourself you were going to read that book instead of watch Netflix for 3 weeks now and you didn't do it. And we don't like anyone who constantly lies to us, tells us they're going to do something and then doesn't show up, a friend, family member, whatever. Yet we constantly do it to ourselves. And then we expect to love ourselves. We expect to respect ourselves. And then so we're so internally mad and upset at ourselves because we never keep the promises we make. And then so a little thing happens and then we lose it, right? But if you can do what you say you're going to do every single time, right? Nothing's in singularity. It's all connected, right? So it's like, it's easy just to say, oh, I'm just going to skip a workout today. No, it's not skipping a workout. It's you're losing belief, trust, and confidence in yourself. That's what you're actually skipping out on, right? Because every time you lie to yourself, you lose just a little bit. But we make dozens of these decisions every day. And so many men lose so much belief, confidence, and trust. But if you can keep that word to yourself every single time, right? And you slowly build that belief, confidence, and trust back up one decision at a time. So when I don't want to wake up when my alarm goes off, I don't think about my morning routine. I think about losing that belief and trust and confidence within myself. And that's enough to get me out of bed, right? So I just wanted to leave you guys with that because that's a truly just powerful way to start looking at all of your decisions, right? Because it's easy just to, I'll do it tomorrow. No, because you don't have an opportunity tomorrow to build that trust and confidence that you lost today.
Amen, man. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Jimmy, thank you so much. You're a stud. I'm glad we connected. I'm just amazed at the work you're doing and so grateful for all the lives you're changing, dude. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, likewise, man. Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe. And if you're looking for more ways to include God throughout your day, check out some of my recent music I created in partnership with Skylight. Link in the description.